You ready for this? What would Jesus do?
For me as a Christian, it also coincides with Jesus' teaching that for unto whom much is given, much shall be required.
Much shall be required. President Obama speaking up for the poor one day after Mitt Romney says he's, quote, not concerned about the very poor. We have a safety net there. Both candidates are referring to taxation, but neither apparently understands the distinction between charitable giving and coerced taxation. We welcome back to the show Patrick Byrne, CEO of Overstock.com. Patrick, it's a pleasure. Welcome here. Patrick,
Judge,
is it possible to be charitable with other people's money, or does charity come from the heart of the individual, the person who voluntarily gives away what he had?
Right. Charity is a voluntary act, whereas, as George Washington said, the state is not reason, it's not eloquence, it's force. In other words, government just government by its nature has a monopoly on violence. They're not requesting you to do things, they're ordering. So to couch this to you in language like charity or the language of voluntary acts is really blue smoke and mirrors.
I wonder if you think that people understand that. I mean, the president obviously thinks he will look good by appearing at a Christian prayer breakfast at which he talks about the ultimate Christian virtue of love, of giving, and pulls the wool, as you say, over people's eyes, because this is not voluntary giving. If you don't give the way the president wants you to give, they send the IRS after you, and they come with a gun and a chainsaw.
Right. Giving and charity, those aren't the right words when you're talking about what the government. I actually think it's somewhat cynical for the president to say this. This is the same president who on the campaign trail was in San Francisco. He's in San Francisco and he says, in small-town Americans, they're clutching to their religion, their guns, and their antipathy towards people who are not like them. Now, then he gets in the small town and he drops his G's and acts all folksy. Then he gets in front of a prayer breakfast and talks about how everything comes from his Christian. I think it's kind of phony religiosity, and I don't think it's very seemly.
Where do you think Governor Romney is on this big picture of should the government be motivated by the powers given to it under the Constitution, or should the government do what the people in the government think is right and popular at the moment?
I'm not completely made up my mind on that. I think that he's a pretty pragmatic guy, which means he's probably not driven. I keep searching for the overarching principles which drive him, and I don't see. I haven't found them yet, but my guess is that he would be more inclined to try to understand constitutional limits on federal powers than would be President Obama, who evidently appears to have neglected to read that part of the Constitution.
But do you think that Mitt Romney is a supporter of the free market the way you and I are, free from government involvement? Or do you think he's a supporter of capitalism the way Wall Street is, crony capitalism and corporatism, and the government funneling its cash through its favorite bankers and business friends?
I haven't made up my mind on that. I don't see much evidence that he comes at it from first principles like you do, Judge. But I haven't really made my mind's open. What do you think? Do you think how would you answer that question?
I think that Mitt Romney is far closer to Barack Obama than he is to the people who fought the American Revolution and won our freedom for us. Patrick Byrne, it is always a pleasure. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you, sir.
Yesterday, we